right, guys, we are here with the second episode of the En Route podcast. I got it right this time. So anyways, a lot of you probably missed the video of our koozies, but we have free koozies, and I'm rocking the camouflage one for the non-basic people and for the represent the Monroe County folks. So come by, get a free koozie. We have a good bit of them. I think we've had a whole lot of one person come by and get one. So and I think he was from Thomaston. So we need some support here in Monroe County. Anyways, I have two guests today. That's why you don't see Gator in the picture. We only have 3 microphones, so if you want to support us and buy an extra microphone, we could do that. So we decided to boot Gator today, and I maybe I took one for the team. I don't know. We'll see today. Anyways, I have Holly White here. She's with Sage Sparrow and also on the chamber board this year. And then I have my wife, Katie Whitley, and she runs Simply Dance in Town and also taught here in Monroe County Schools, 3rd grade, for 2 years, and decided to go on her own and run her dance studio full time. So anyways, we're going to hop right into this one. We're going to go pretty quick just because I have 2 people, so I'm not sure how this is going to go. So this is going to be a interesting one.
We're going to take over.
I'm sure. I'm almost positive about that. I'm going to be left in the dirt on this one. So just a fun fact, Gator fun facts is what we're going to call this segment here. He gave me this morning, actually.
I'm afraid.
Georgia is a lot of times considered the #1 best state to be a woman business owner. I didn't believe him, so he researched it, and it came up. And it's also the top 5. It's in the top 5 for the state with the most women business owners. So I thought that was pretty cool. I didn't know that prior to this, so that was Gator's fun fact for the day.
Good job, Gator.
So yeah, we'll give a thumbs up to Gator on that. So yeah, that's actually where this idea. That's where this idea came from. Is I was just thinking, like, there are so many business owners that are females in this town, and I just started even co-owners, and it's like, you really don't think about it until you just start walking around and you're like, man, okay, there's 1, 2, 3. And I think we, even talking to Holly the other day, I think we came up with like 10 different ones just in the downtown area, which is pretty incredible.
That is.
So anyways, I want to just let y'all introduce yourselves, a little bit of what y'all got going on. Like, how did you end up in Monroe County and how did y'all get to where you're starting? But just be thinking about that for a second. Until then, we're going to give everybody a little bit of an insight with a rapid fire section. What we did on the last podcast, this is the second one. So it's going to be interesting with 2 people. So we'll wing it here. Just both of y'all can answer at the same time, but try not to like cut each other out. So maybe we'll see some personality here.
Okay.
But, all right. So here we go. The first one is beach or lake.
Beach.
Okay. City or country.
Country.
I need a mix of both.
Okay. That's a good one. Cheesecake or ice cream.
Cheesecake.
Cheesecake.
Wine or margarita.
Wine.
Coffee or soda.
Coffee.
I already did
Obviously.
that was obvious. And then the last one, which is kind of different, it's not really a 2-part. It's a favorite book.
I have 2. First one, it's more of a self-help book, Present Over Perfect, Shauna Nyquist. Second one is the one I'm currently reading right now, Where the Crawdads Sing. So good. It's on Reese Witherspoon's book club. It's really good.
I have a laundry list of books, but the one that I read most recently, other than another one that I'm reading now for my child, it's called The Strong-Willed Child, or The New Strong-Willed Child. I highly recommend that to other moms, but it's called Profit First. It's really good for other business owners. The more that you can educate yourself, and I could get into that all day long, but it's just a different way to look at business. It's a different way to look at your money. I highly recommend it. Profit First.
I have to definitely check that out. I'm a Audible guy. I'm that kid that didn't read in school, and I found out that they had an app that'll read to you, and I'm all about that. So when I go home with Katie, I'm like, "Hey, I read a book today." She's like, "You mean you listened to it?" I'm like, "Hey, it still counts. Still counts." So back to the other question, Holly. We'll start with you. How did you end up in Monroe County, and how did you end up owning, Sage Sparrow?
Well, Patrick, Katie. I am from Monroe County, unlike both of you, but as y'all wanted to plant here, I wanted to run away from here. So I was like, I graduated high school here from Mary Persons in 2004, and I was like, let me get out of Dodge. I wanted nothing to do with this place. There was nothing to do here. There was nowhere to eat. We had a Hamburger Hill, and I just felt like there wasn't a way to grow here. I knew from an early age that I was a little bit different than most people, and I needed different, and I felt that Monroe County couldn't offer it to me. So I just kind of disappeared for a little while, and I lived a little bit of everywhere. I lived in Warner Robins, I lived in Atlanta, lived in Savannah, navigated my way through college, worked in the food service industry, restaurant management, fine dining. And then when I was 30, I found myself out close to Denver, pregnant for the first time. And I was like, what am I going to do with this baby? I have no idea. Like, if it cries, what do you do?
Right.
So my sister came out to visit me when I was a couple months pregnant. She's like, you're moving home. I was like, I have a career. I'm going to stay right here. And she said, no, you're not. You're coming home. I was like, no one's going to hire me pregnant. So actually, I flew in for an interview to manage the Grits Cafe. They took a chance on me. They hired me pregnant. And I knew that when I moved back that it was time. I'd always wanted to open my own business. It's what I studied in school. And I looked around Monroe County and saw how much that it was growing and evolving. And it was just time. So there's a lot more, obviously, planning and detail that went into it. But I more so looked at my daughter. She was a few months old. And I said, I don't want her to think I didn't go for my dreams. And I saw the need in Monroe County for what I have. And that's how Sage and Sparrow came about. And I found my way back to Monroe County. And I will say this, I do love Monroe County. I couldn't imagine living anywhere else or raising my child anywhere else.
So where did the name Sage and Sparrow come from?
Ooh, the infamous question. I get this one all the time. So Sage stands for wisdom. And I wanted to name the store just Sage, or like Sage Boutique. And my sister, being the big sister that she is, that's stupid.
Like, I mean, at least she was blunt.
Right. So, and she's like, I think it's cool, Holly, but if you just put Sage outside, people are just going to just drive right by you. And she's like, you need to think of something more meaningful. People like a story, Holly. And I was like, oh, okay. So I put a lot of thought into it, and I was actually working on my business license. I held that business license in my hand for like 2 months, and I had Sage written on there, and I actually started praying about it. And God brought me to the book of Matthew, and the book of Matthew chapter 6 says the birds are free. He basically says the birds not reap nor sow nor hide in barns, that God takes care of the birds. Are you not more valuable than they? So with that, wise and free, Sage and Sparrow. And that's how it came about.
So it all seems to work out. Awesome. I wish I had something as good as that for 7.5.
I know, it's beautiful.
Unfortunately, Katie said 7.5 was created because my name had 7 characters in it, and Gators had 5.
It was a good guess.
And, I mean, it's a...
And they're like, no, we literally just looked at the interstate out there, and they're like, oh,
they were like, hey, what are we close to? Oh, Interstate 75, 7.5 promotions.
But we're the middle of everywhere.
I mean,
it's true.
It
Everybody
works.
knows about I-75.
We just have the simplicity idea, but we don't have all the... That's really cool, though, to have.
It is.
I didn't realize that Sage was the original name, and then the Sparrow part came from that. That's cool how it just happened to come together that way. So definitely, it's interesting how names get created. So, and boutiques have some crazy names out there. Let's be real. There's some crazy names.
It's probably difficult to find one because I feel like most of them are taken.
It's about like hardcore band names. It's really is. So we're not going to get in that subject. I'll wait for Gator on that subject one day. We'll have a podcast just about that, and we'll just be the only two to listen to it. Katie, so even though I'm your husband and we see each other every day, tell everybody about.
I'll tell Holly then.
Okay,
I'm
tell
interested.
Holly. I know a lot of people probably want to know your story as far as how we ended up here in Monroe County, because we are not from here, and how. Just a quick little story of how you end up running Simply Dance.
Sure. So originally from Peach County, and Patrick is from Pike County. So when we got engaged and we're getting ready to get married, looking for houses, and we started our search in Macon. We looked at so many houses, and something about it just didn't feel right. And we just kept coming back to Monroe County, coming back to Forsyth, and we were like, oh, you know what? Let's just finally stop looking in Macon and only look there. We felt like Forsyth was a good place because it's literally a halfway point between both of our families. So we ended up buying a house here. At that time, I was still teaching in Macon. I think I taught 2 more years there. And then I got an opportunity to buy out Encore, which was almost really across the street from you, essentially, a couple doors down from Jonah's. And it was a crazy little strand of events that led me to it. She actually contacted my old dance teacher, seeing if she wanted to buy Encore. Just she felt like they were running similar programs. This was a my teacher down in Byron, and she felt at the time she just couldn't have 2 studios. And she's like, but I know a young lady who lives in Forsyth who would be perfect for it. So when I initially talked to Susan, the previous owner of Encore, I had to do a lot of thinking. And my initial thought was, there's no way I can do this. I'm teaching school. I'm eventually going to be a mom. There's no way I can do all 3. And Patrick and I were just really thinking about it and really praying about it. And he just told me one day, he's like, if you don't do this, you're always going to wonder, what if? So we made the decision to do it. And at that time, I knew I needed to get over to Monroe County Schools just to make that teaching school during the day and then heading to the studio a little bit easier. So I taught at Hubbard for 2 years, which was an amazing experience, and ran the studio our first year on Johnson Street. And then we moved to North Jackson Street across from the Reporter. And then this year has been the first year that I've run the studio full time. And it's just been such an incredible blessing. Just being able to be with my little boy during the day and then be at the studio at night. And a lot of times he's up there with us. So it's just incredible to see something that you totally doubted doing, didn't think. I mean, I had, I guess, a different situation from you. Didn't study business in school at all. Never imagined myself running a business. And now just can't imagine my life without it. So.
Yeah, and we'll dive in. We'll kind of break that down and some other questions too.
You see how she glows when she talks about it? She just lights up.
Do I?
Yeah, you just like your whole face, your whole demeanor changes. You just light up.
I swear,
That's
we talk
passion.
about it. We talk about it all the time. Like, I can't imagine my life without it. Like, it's hard to call it my job because I feel like it's not even work because I love it so much.
Well, I've taken away, so we need to change our business name to something unique like yours, and I need to glow when I talk about 7.5. And I feel like if I can accomplish both those things, maybe that's the new 2019 for us. I don't
This
know.
is your marketing team.
Do I not
We
glow
got you.
when I talk about mine? I don't glow.
You need to work on your glow.
I guess the beard hides the glow, maybe. We'll stick with that.
We'll work on your glow. It's okay.
Yeah, I guess we'll work on it. So, all right. This question means a lot to me just because in the past year, I've really got to experience this, and it gives me a whole different respect. And really, I guess we'll start with you again, Holly, is what does it take to run a business while being a mom? And I know your situation is also a little different, but, you know, I think this is a question that probably, or I wouldn't say question, no matter what answer you give or Katie gives, there's not going to be enough credit given to either of y'all because this is something I see every day. And then, like I said, I know your situation can be even considered harder, doing it basically on your own. And, you know, what does it take to run a business and be a mom?
An insane amount of just courage, honestly. Before I had my child, I felt like I was ready to have a business for years and years, but honestly, like I said before, you just look at that, you look at your child, you look at your son, you look at your daughter, and you know that you can't fail. Even if you do fail, you have to go out, you know, in a blaze of glory because they're looking at you. They watch everything you do and you're trying to set that example. But honestly, it's a juggling act. Mm-hmm. You learn how to be dexterous and deft, and what does Dr. Seuss say? Don't mix up your right foot with your left. and that is so true because it's, you know, keeper of the laundry, keeper of the Cheerios. You know, like when my daughter's pitching a fit, like I can see the fit coming 5 minutes before it happens. And, you know, my phone constantly blows up all day long, but it's just, you learn to juggle and, lots of prayer. Man, I started praying for her when she was in the womb. You know, I have to pray all the time, sometimes just in my car on the way to work, because you think, how am I going to get all this done? How do I please everybody? How do I run a successful business? And how do I grow? You know, growth is what you're scared of, but it takes a village. I mean, people will disagree with me, and I actually have had one person come to me and she's like, I don't believe in that takes a village crap. It does. Man, if I didn't have my mom, my sister, the amazing nanny that I have, I don't know that I could do it because Sage and Sparrow wouldn't exist if I didn't have help with my child. And so it's all about juggling and balance. And I think Katie can attest to that too.
Yeah. And I respect you so much just for, I mean, your hours are just so different from mine. So I know you sacrifice so much time with Maddie, but I know we've talked about it so much. You're like, everything I do is for her. Mothers are just magical. I mean, essentially, they're huge unicorns because they can just do it all.
Amen to that.
Is a unicorn the right one? I don't know.
They're magical.
I mean, okay, I'll give you a unicorn.
But also with that, coffee, all the coffee.
Amen.
I mean, how do you mom without coffee? But I mean, I would attest to everything you're saying. It truly does. It takes a village. I mean, on our end, we've kind of figured out a good little schedule so that, because, you know, our hours, Patrick works during the day, I essentially work at night. So we've had to really kind of schedule out our time, like how we can both spend time with Wells, but also still spend time with each other. And our moms are both close by, so they're able to help. And I'm lucky enough that I get to bring them to the studio with me a lot, which is super cool. And another reason I love Monroe County, because everybody at the studio knows Wells, and I want to play with Wells, and they bring their siblings, and they all just play in the lobby while their sisters are in class. And it's just a really cool thing just to see. He's growing up, and he's got all these people who already love him. So
we'll be teaching creative movement in 2 years.
I mean, he's ready. He's ready.
Right.
He needs to be in a race car, guys. Okay, he doesn't need to be in a dancing
he can be
environment.
well balanced.
One thing to add to that is basically, you know, I think there's so many people who or maybe will watch and maybe even, you know, and we'll get into a deeper part of this question as well. But, you know, it's like people have this idea that being an entrepreneur is easier. But it really, and I think as moms, y'all really get to see it, it's a bigger sacrifice than just running a typical 9-to-5. You will lose time being with your family and your kids. And even now, like people like, oh, well, Katie gets to stay at home, but that's such a small part of it. You know, people don't see what she has to do, you know, with the dance studio beyond that. Like when she gets home, her dancing in the kitchen while she's trying to cook and balance well screaming and me being me. And so, you know, there's so much more to it than just, you know, oh, it must be nice to be, and I don't want people to get that. So that's why I want to dive into this. I don't want people to get that just because you have your own business, you have more time to be with your kids. I would say it's probably the opposite of that. You know, it's a lot of work. And I know you were bouncing multiple jobs recently and stuff like that. It's a lot of work. And I cannot imagine, even like what you're saying in your perspective, it's a ton of work, and you have to have people to help. And even before we had a kid and before we had Wells, I was very much in the attitude like, we got this. Like we're not going to need a ton of help. Like we got this. And then I was humbled pretty quick when like I realized how nice it was to have that help. And honestly, like we would not be able to do what we're doing right now with my business or her business if it wasn't for all the help that we have.
Yeah,
and it really does take a huge team of people to make it work. It would be literally impossible to do it by yourself. There's just no way. You can't take your kid to work with you every day, and it just wouldn't work. You know, so and your kid would be miserable trying to follow that lifestyle. But you know, I definitely give both y'all a ton of credit for that, because even seeing Katie and just knowing what you have to go through behind the doors, it's incredible what y'all can balance. That is one thing I will say, that women over men, I don't like to be that way, but women can just balance. You know, I feel like they balance stuff better in a sense. But you know, I have so much going on, and it's just like, you know, my head I just want to blow up. I want to focus on one thing and get it done. Katie's got like a million things in her mind at once, and I'm just like, all right, I'm just gonna leave you alone. But all right, so I'm gonna move to the next question. It's a little bit crazier question. In what positive, maybe negative, it doesn't have to be negative ways, have you been affected by being a woman entrepreneur here in Monroe County? And then the follow-up question for that would be, you know, what would be the perfect Monroe County? Like what would, and not even, we don't have to stay Monroe County. We can say Central Georgia if you want to have it at that. What would it look like to you? And I guess we'll let Katie, oh, geez, I'm hitting this mic today. Let's let Katie start this one, and then we'll.
Okay, so being an entrepreneur here, I feel like I've had so many positive experiences, and I guess ours is a little bit different because I'm not from here and I didn't know anyone. So coming in and starting a business, I was really afraid, like, I don't know anybody. Are people going to send their children to dance with me when they don't know my credentials? I didn't grow up here. They don't know much about my experience. But I have learned, and I think you can attest to this, when you bring something that is a need to this community, people are going to support you. And I've found that, and have continued to found that just in the growth we've had in these 3 years, that this county wants new things. They want opportunities for their children and for themselves. And it's just been a huge blessing just to see the amount of support they've offered. And as far as what I would want Monroe County to look like, my idea is like a one-stop shop. I would love if our downtown, literally, I could just get everything I need. Clothes for my little boy, shoes, clothes for my husband. Just have it all covered. That to me would be the perfect. And I feel like we're getting there. Like we were riding around the other day and we're like, oh, there's a new business. There's a new business. I mean, we're constantly like, people are coming here in droves, which I think is amazing. But if it was a one-stop shop and we had a little bit of everything, I think that would be awesome.
I think you hit the nail on the head there, Katie. positively, I have been supported more than I imagined. When you sit down and you write a business plan, you project like, this is worst case scenario, this is middle of the road, and this is best. Like I've definitely exceeded worst case scenario. I wouldn't say that I'm at my best, but I mean, when I opened my doors, I was like, okay, worst case scenario or a little bit less. People, sometimes with me, I guess a negative thing, the hardest part for me, they complain about my prices. They say, oh, where do you think you are? New York, Atlanta, you're not going to survive here. Forsyth's not going to support you. And I take all that and I channel it into something positive, because you're buying quality. You're buying expertise. You're buying experience. You're buying me. My service. Last year we were voted best store clerk, not best boutique. And I was like, I don't even care about that, because like I got something that I thought was amazing, because that's what I want to be. I want to be the best. When people think about Sage and Sparrow, they think about hospitality. They think warm and fuzzy. They think I can come in here and get my mimosa and I'm going to go out of here and I'm going to look fierce. I'm going to look amazing in these jeans. We, that we tailor clothes. Like it's a free service. So I saw the need here. I don't think we're too expensive. I think that I have had a lot of love and support. I'm definitely doing better than my worst case scenario on my business plan. And I see so much more potential here for the business that I have and for so many others. And that would be the perfect Monroe County to me as well. Growth, controlled, healthy growth, I think, from where I stand. Obviously, we're not trying to be McDonough where, I know y'all talked about that before. We don't want to be Macon. We don't want the crime, but we have great school systems. We have cool places to eat popping up. We have great places to shop. And that, being that little destination downtown, or never having to leave Monroe County unless it's a special occasion, that would be ideal.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think me and you talked about this the other day when I came and asked you to be on the podcast, was basically, I don't think Monroe County could support being like any of those places. We don't have the roads. We don't have
the infrastructure.
We have the interstate. That's it. But outside of that, we don't have the commercial capabilities of that. I could see us getting things like Cracker Barrels and maybe like a Lowe's or something like that, but I don't see it going beyond like to a McDonough point where we have huge bowling alleys and massive, just every single retail store you can think of. I don't see it getting to that. I just don't think I think we're going to be that little community that kind of nestles between Macon and McDonough. And I think we can have a whole lot more, and to support stuff like, your boutique, and to support stuff like Katie's Dance Studio, and to continue to grow that, because, I think y'all both have amazing businesses here, but there's no doubt that both of them could be supported even more. I know smaller communities that have bigger dance studios, and I know smaller communities that have bigger boutiques because of their towns are got that a little bit bigger support of that local feel. So I know for sure we can grow where we are right now. Right. There's more people here right now to support us, and even like with 7-5 Promotions, we decided to cut the online part out because we're like, look, there's enough business here. It's just a matter of getting people to come in our doors. Absolutely. And yeah, we're not the cheapest. Same as you. We talked about that before the podcast. Is we're not the cheapest price. You can go down to Macon and probably get it a little bit cheaper, but again, you're not paying, but we're not the most expensive either. We've had tons of quotes, so you're not paying just for the product. You're paying for the experience. We're going to give you the best product. Same with you. You go in there, you're going to get a pair of jeans or something that's going to be, even though I don't buy clothes there because it's a boutique, but
your wife does.
I do. Yeah, Katie buys plenty. But you're going to buy something that's going to last you. And again, you are somewhat paying for you as a service. Same with, especially with Simply Dance. You're not just paying for dance. You're paying for Katie's, and all her other, teachers and stuff. You're paying for their experience and for who they are. And I think so many people forget that. It's like, oh, I'm just going to go down to Macon. But it's about who's actually running the business too.
Absolutely. I can walk into Holly's store and Holly, I don't know what size I need. Just pick me out some jeans, and she brings them to me, and I ended up loving them.
I'm like, Katie, those are too big, Katie.
Right.
Just a smaller pants.
You can't get that anywhere else.
Thank you.
And you too. You have to tell people sometimes that doesn't fit you, and you don't say it because when they get home and they look in the mirror and they try something on, or they wear it for the first time, they're gonna be like, "This is ill-fitting." You never want somebody to have on something that's ill-fitting. You don't want it too tight, and you don't want it too big. You want it to fit them,
right?
And that builds confidence in women, and you can't put a price tag on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Having especially like Katie coming home and being confident, like, "Oh, this is gonna look good on me." That's huge even for the dude's perspective. That's a big deal.
I remember the first time I came into your store was right after I had Wells, and Pastor was like, "You just need to go shop. You need a day day out, go shop. And I remember instantly meeting you, and I could just tell that, man, this girl is passionate about this, and just made me feel so welcome. And the price just seemed so fair to me because of your hospitality and how I felt walking in.
Well, that's why to me, when she first came in and told me about the prices, she's like, oh, I pay like $160. I'm like, for how many pieces?
For everything.
But hold on, I'm getting to the point. And I was like, man, that's really expensive. But then having a local business, I understood that. And I think it was like, okay, you're not just paying for some random clothes. You're getting the confidence from you, and like the help from you, and
the brand names of the
fact
stores
that
in Atlanta.
Yeah, you can drive a mile and be there.
Right.
So there's a lot more to it than just it's clothes. It's a whole lot more than that. And even like with a sign shop like ours, we're not just a sign shop. You're paying for so much more than that. And here we are doing a podcast. So
local is a mindset. You have to, and here people have went without, needless to say, for so long, I think, without, a great, sign shop or t-shirt shop or dance studio or restaurants. They've been without. Like, we had Grits Cafe and the Rose Theater, and that was it forever. Right. And now that we have so much more, you have to continually remind people that you're here all the time. And
absolutely.
And so, like, whenever I post on Facebook, and I'm very new to Facebook.
You don't post on Facebook, do you?
Oh man, all the time. But I'd say like 90% of the stuff I post, 95% is about other businesses, my friends, like what they're doing, about the community, because I really want to train people to think local. When they think, oh, where do we want to eat tonight? I want them going to Grits and to Minori's and, pickled okra and Jonah's. They're doing great over there. They got new owners. I want people to know what's going on in the community. You've got activities here. Oh, Caleb's playing at the Okra tonight. Matt Pippin's at the Okra tonight. You got all these great things. There's a concert series on the square, Forsythia Festival. People complain all the time. I hear it like, we never know what's going on. Well, let me do what I can do to remind you of what's going on all the time. And if you don't like it, don't look at it. Just click unfollow us, But like, local is a mindset.
Well, that's why, and we talked about that a little bit in the first podcast. That's why we started this podcast. When me and Gator sat down, we got tired of people saying, like, there's nothing to do here. And, okay, there may not be as much to do here as there are in other places, but for Forsyth, it's not bad. And we have good restaurants. And do we need more restaurants? Yeah, I think we do, and that's going to come. And I think we have other things that we could use as well. But, you can't just sit on Facebook and complain. You got to go out there and make the change. Go eat at the local places. Right. Go support the local businesses. Because guess what? If you don't support them, you're going to lose them.
Right.
And so it ultimately comes out in that balance of just saying, okay, I'm going to support local, and that's going to be it. And even like getting gas. Trust me, gas prices are expensive everywhere else. But guess what? I get my gas here.
The tax dollars stay right here.
To me, it's about where are my kids going to grow up?
Right.
Where's my family going to grow up? And that's what it's about is all keeping it here. So I think that was definitely some good perspectives on both sides. So, all right, this is a question that I'm passionate about it from a different side of it, just in general, but I'm curious to hear y'all's answers on this. What would you tell younger girls who maybe were like yourself 10, 15 years ago that would want to shoot for their passions but are maybe scared to do that? What would you tell them? Like, what advice, what would you tell them? If they had this dream of, hey, I want to start a bakery, I want to start a restaurant, what would you tell them? And Holly, I'll let you go start on this one.
I have quite a few things to say on that because 10, 15 years ago, I've always had a little bit of fire in me. Like, I knew that from an early age. Like, I was different, like I said. But it took a lot of things in my life to get me where I am and to mold me. It took a lot of people. It took a lot of hard work to get through this hard head. So I would say, obviously if you fall down 10 times, get up 11, because there are times on your journey that you're just going to fall flat on your face. If you can't get back up, you have nothing. And even as a business owner, and I think both of you can attest to this, like there are times sometimes where you're just, and there's not enough transparency about this. Let me say that with business owners, it seems really glamorous a lot of times. But there are times when you fall on your face, you feel like throwing in the towel. Why am I doing this? There's no money. Like there, and if you have money, you don't have enough time to accomplish all the tasks. You have to get back up. You have to just kind of put things in perspective and say, hey, why did I start? it's worth it. I've got these little eyes looking at me. I got a community that depends on me. So I don't think people talk about that enough, like your failure. If you're going to fail miserably at times in your life, but getting back up is really what is, going to keep you going. And then you can dust yourself off and say, all right, I got a little skinned up, but here's the Band-Aid. Let me keep going. Next thing I have is surround yourself with a circle of people who inspire you and influence you in different ways.
So important.
Right. You got to have that circle, man. And people think, oh, I don't need friends. I'm not this, I'm not that. But I had he was my boss at the old Pink House in Savannah. And man, I have a lot of respect for a lot of the people there that his name was Craig Jeffries. And he looked at me and he said, Holly, you become like the 5 people you spend the most time with. And I was thinking, man, I got good people in my life. What he was doing was pushing me to be better. Your friends should be smarter than you. Your friends should be more driven than you. Your circle should clap for you and be, that person that says, hey, you're not doing this right. You could do this better. So you really have to be careful and you have to be choosy with who you hang out with, who your circle is. So I've learned that over the years. I want all my friends to be smarter than me, more successful than me, or at least striving to be. And then consistency, determination, and being proactive, doing everything you do with intention. That's what I would tell a younger me or a younger girl.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I think it's because me and Katie even battle this, and even as men, we battle this. The whole idea of your circle, it's so hard to eliminate. I know it sounds bad, but it is so hard to look at who's in your life right now and be like, okay, who out of do these people need to go? Do they need to stay? And I don't think every single one of them need to be smarter than you necessarily, because I think some of those people you're the opposite of them. You're the one helping them,
striving to be right.
So I think there needs to be a good balance of those people in your life, the people that are pushing you, and also the people that you're pushing as well.
Right.
But at the same time, there are those negative people who, if I was telling even a young man or a young woman, they need to go. They need to go. If I say that one of the biggest delays of me and Katie even being further than we are now, I would say really it's creating that good circle of people. That has probably delayed us more than anything as far as like where we truly have our passions of growing these businesses, because it can draw you down. It really can draw you down. And I don't think there's enough emphasis on that for sure, is you got to create that perfect circle. Look at your friends. Even you're in high school right now. Look who you're hanging out with. Given you're about to be on a new journey, college, possibly whatever, you have to look who you're hanging out with. When I was in high school, I was hanging out with business owners. And I was hanging out with other people who started businesses. I didn't know I was going to be a business owner at this point, but I was trying to hang out with people above my age. And even throughout college, I did that. And I look back and I didn't know what I was doing, but I'm like so thankful that I did that because I learned so much. So yeah, that's a good perspective on that. So Katie, what about your side?
I second everything that you said. And I think with that, kind of going back to what I said earlier, if you're even thinking about something and in your heart it's a huge passion of yours, don't ever wonder what if. Try it. I think another huge thing is find a mentor. Find somebody who's on a similar path as you. It doesn't even have to be the same business, because I feel like I've learned so much from you, Holly, just as I took on Simply Dance full time. I knew I had to learn a little bit more about the business world, learn how to market my business better. And I've learned so much from you in that aspect. So I would say for that young girl thinking about this journey, find somebody who inspires you. Find somebody who you can learn from along the way. And like you said, it's not going to be easy. It's going to be hard. It looks glamorous, as you said, and in a sense it is. I mean, this is your creation. This is your baby in a sense. And there's going to be days where it's amazing, but there's going to be days where it's really hard and you feel like, man, I'm out here on my own. I'm on this island trying to figure this out. But I think if somebody's listening to this and is having these thoughts, maybe I could do this. I think you and I would both be willing to talk to them and encourage them and get them on the right track to starting their own business. And especially if it's in Monroe County, we're ready and we want it to happen.
I'm going to bring Gator back into this. So this is something that me and Gator talk about a lot. I would try to do it in his voice, but I don't want to. I feel like I really messed that up. So I'm not going to do it. One thing that me and Gator have a conversation about so much when it comes to young individuals who may want to do, like, run their own business or do something other than just the I guess, college and all that, is go try stuff. Go out and you're 18 years old, you're graduating. Take 2 years, and I'm sorry, parents, if this makes you mad, but, take 2 years, try things. Go work at a restaurant.
I agree.
Go work at Walmart. Go, even if it's not what you want, go try it. Because again, you're going to learn so much faster than the people that are instantly going into college. You're going to realize real quick what you don't want to do and what you do want to do. Do you like working around people? Okay, no, then you don't need to be in a job like this. You need to start, but it is like your personality fits where you're at, and you really need to go out and then you may even find a mentor in doing that. Somebody may come and work for you and say, okay, Holly's my mentor, and then they can ask you about the future ideas, or maybe they work with Katie and at the dance studio and they learn that, hey, I love dance, but this isn't really what I want to do in my future. So, or I love dance, but I don't really want to teach it. I just always want to dance for fun. So I think those things are huge, and I don't know how to explain it enough, because people feel like, I think the issue is kids feel like they're missing out. I think we all remember that. We all think that we're going to miss something if we don't go to college like everyone else. We're missing out. And unfortunately, I think the parents are kind of putting that pressure on kids that, hey, you need to go to school, you need to do this. But I just don't think school is, in my true opinion, I don't think school is the first option. I think you need to go out and experience.
I didn't go to school right away. A lot of people don't know that about me. I did. I take that back. I did. I went to Macon State for like 3 months, and I was like, psh, this is not for me.
I'm done with this.
Right. I lived a little bit. I worked a couple of different jobs. When I tell people I used to sell cars, they're like, what? I was like, yes. I was like, before I went to college, I had no direction in my life, but it took a couple of years to find out what I wanted to do. And even though this is what I went to school for, what I do now, fashion marketing and retail management. However, it took me a few years to even realize what, and I might have been a nurse. I might have been a teacher. I would be a terrible teacher. I mean, I would be a terrible nurse. I don't want to stick needles in people, but I might have been in a job doing something that wouldn't serve others.
Right. You felt that pressure, I got to choose something.
Right. And Katie might be over here owning a clothing store, what I really hated life, or just I might have been making T-shirts over there and hating it.
I'm sorry.
But
I
think a lot of kids just get stuck sometimes in a career that they don't necessarily know that they want, and that's why you find people who change jobs when they're 40 years old or go back to school. My mom was, a last year nursing student, and she was just like, I can't do this, and she went back to school for another 2 years to be a teacher. And man, my mom was the best teacher. I have witnessed my mom teaching kids, and much like Katie, when Katie talks about dance, my mom just glows. She's an amazing teacher. Had she have been a nurse, maybe she wouldn't have been the best nurse, right?
So I'm going to look in the camera on this one. To you parents who think you should send your kids off to college because that's the right thing to do, I'm telling you this. If you want your kids in a better place, let them get experience. You can start in high school. I know Gator for sure worked multiple jobs in high school, and I know he talks about that today, that was such a good influence on him and where he's at now. And not that we're anywhere crazy, but it's just, you learn so much by just doing. Right. And college is it's just memorizing, more or less. It doesn't teach you about the real world. Is
Unless
college
you're
bad?
a nurse or a doctor.
Well, yeah, but even I'm not getting on that subject, but that's a whole nother one too. But it's like, you don't have to look at college as the only option. Your kids are not bad kids because they decided to go to college, or they didn't go to college, and they did. I was 5 years in, went to Gordon, went to Georgia Southern, had a straight 3.88 GPA, and I dropped out my 5th year to start this business or to run this business. So, and again, I could look back at it. I could be sitting pressing print right now at Quad Graphics in Thomaston, but hey, I'm glad I did what I did, and I'm glad I'm right here doing this, because again, I have that. This is mine. This is my creation. This is what we created. So
I think it's important to know that it still is a great option for a good half of the population, but as we kind of change our mindset and change our thinking as we're always evolving, that's not the only option anymore. There's, kids can try new things. And
tech school.
Yeah.
Tech school's
we need a debate.
Highly underrated tech school.
Absolutely.
We need any presidents of some tech schools or some colleges want to come on here. We need some debates going on. No, I agree with tech school.
Right. I mean, it's hands-on.
Yeah.
It's great.
You got Queen Quita, my sister, up here slaying hair every day like a boss, making amazing money, and creating her own dream, as well as the other 5 ladies and Kelly, who owns that salon, because they went to tech school. They're hands-on. They can wear blue hair if they want to. And I mean, they do.
And guess what?
It's amazing.
You didn't need no business degree.
Right.
You didn't have to have a business degree to do that. You learn by doing. So I didn't take any business. Well, I took one business class and it was a failure. But anyways, we're going to kind of finish this up and I think the last part will be a very interesting part and it may take a little bit longer. So I want to go ahead and jump into it. And I'll let whoever decides wants to go first because I know it's kind of a crazy question.
I'll do it.
What are 3 ideas? And we asked this, if you watched the last podcast, you heard this question already. What are the 3 ideas or values that you think are the most important to growing yourself and your business? And when I mean by growing yourself, that can be your relationships with your kids, your husbands, your friends. It can be really anything. What are those values that you believe in? And again, just like the first podcast, the whole idea of the En Route podcast is that you're always moving forward. You're always trying to grow. And that's why like we have selected the people that we have on here. Not that we can select everyone because we only do this once a week, every other week. But I've personally, like Holly and you, Katie, it's like, I know that's y'all's goal. It's always to get better. It's those 3 steps forward, 2 step back kind of deal. You may still step back, but it's always that 1 step forward that keeps growing you. So
Definitely.
What do you think those values are for you?
All right, 3 things. Number 1 would definitely be passion. I guess we can call it the glow now that we've discovered that. Gosh, you've got to be passionate about your business, whatever it may be. In a sense, I want to say you got to wake up every morning and love what you're going to do. That's not realistic. You're not going to be pumped about it every single day. But at the end of the day, like you've just got to have passion for what you're doing. You've got to love it. You've got to want to learn more and continue to grow in what you're doing. The second one, which kind of goes along with that, I think would be gratitude. Grateful for the opportunity you've been given. Kind of like what you talked about, grateful for the setbacks because of what they teach you, and then grateful for the success just because of the opportunity you've been given. Like I think I've made my students and my parents feel just incredibly just grateful, just letting them know how much I appreciate them and appreciate their continued support. And I sit back so often and just, man, I'm so grateful for this opportunity. So I would say passion is a huge part, gratitude for this opportunity you've been given. And then my last word, I kind of feel like it has a negative connotation, but I would say unsettled. I think we should always be a little bit unsettled in what we're doing. And what I mean by that is when I think about Simply Dance, I'm never settled in what we're doing right now. Like we've had a fantastic year this year, but I want more. I want it to continue to be better. Like recently, I just posted a question. What do you guys want? What do you want Simply Dance to offer for your kids? What do you want your kid to do? What else do you want them learning? And I think about that when we get ready for our recital, which takes me a year to plan because I want it to be this beautiful production that my students are just so proud to be a part of, and the parents love it, and just that continual growth, which is all about what En Route is talking about. Just
En route or en route?
Oh, what did I say?
You said it right.
En route. No, it is. Yeah, okay, I did say it right. I had to think about it. I have to think Route 66, and that gets me on that's my go-to. But
Route 66 slushies from
Sonic. Strawberry limeade.
That's not local.
I know, but that happy hour.
So passion, gratitude, and a feeling of a little bit of unsettlement.
That's awesome, Katie. And I agree with that when you talk about gratitude, like just graciousness for me. And I too have been very humbled, like we talked about, by the support of this community, because when I opened, I had many missions, and I know that a lot of people say, well, you have to have one thing or 2 things. Like I had many, and one of those was to give back to the community that built me. And because there was a lot of love and support in this community when I was growing up. Like even when our house burned when I was a kid, like I remember that vividly. I remember it not being a big deal when it happened because I was like 8 years old. But now looking back, like I remember the love and just outpouring of things and people just jumping in, willing to help. So just that, having that gratitude, like what you have, because if you don't have, if you're not humble, if you don't have that gratitude, you just don't have much of a business. You got to be grateful for your customers walking in the door. And that brings me to integrity. Like integrity is a huge part of what I do. And, if somebody bringing something back to me, if something's not right, I'm going to fix it. Like, if somebody says, hey, I washed this shirt and it shrunk and it doesn't fit me anymore. And even though like, you know, I should be like, well, you know, it's past your 7 days. What is a $32 t-shirt going to cost me in the end? Is it going to cost me my customer? Like, it's not worth that to me. Just give them another shirt, you know, always being honest with my customers. Like I said before, you know, just, I don't want somebody to leave in something that's ill-fitting. But I always want to do right by my customer. Does it mean I should just give and give and give and give and give? No, but I don't feel like people here take advantage of me in that way. I never have felt taken advantage of in my business. And I'm sure there's a time that I probably will, but I think you have to have that integrity with yourself and with running your business. And the next thing, I had this district manager out in Colorado. His name was Brian Shosker. I worked for a concept called Bad Daddy's Burger Bar. Super cool concept. There's now one in DeKalb if you haven't been. We need something like that in Forsyth.
You said Bad Daddy's?
Bad Daddy's Burger Bar.
It sounds a little intimidating.
But it's a cool concept. And man, he told me, he said, Holly, you got to be green and growing or ripe and rotten. And I believe that in my business. Like I said, everything I do has to be intentional. And if I'm not green and growing, if I'm not like Katie and I don't continue to always want more for my business, like I've grown by leaps and bounds in the year and a half that I've been open. But I'm like, okay, what can I do next? How can I do this better? How can I improve? I don't ever want to be stagnant or complacent or ripe and rotten, because that just means I don't need to be in business anymore.
I like that.
Yeah, I think that's some good points, and it's always interesting to hear, you know, different sides to it. But they all kind of combine to these morals and values you always hear. I think the biggest thing is just, again, we talk about this a lot, Katie, is it's action. You know, you can sit there and be a keyboard, what they call it, little keyboard warrior on the, you know, Monroe County Reporter page, talking crap on there, and you can post all your stuff in the NUZ and do your thing on there. But like, I'm not saying support those, be involved on those forums and do that, but like, don't just sit there and talk about it. Like, do something. Be the light that you want to be.
Proactive.
Like, if you want to complain about something being wrong, then you need to go out and fix it. Don't just sit there and talk bad about it, because you're going to be sitting on your little sofa just doing it. So, you know, I think that still comes down to it. This is the second podcast now. I still think action is by far the most underestimated thing when it comes to starting a business, wanting to be in business, wanting a better community. It all comes down to, from the people up top, from, you know, your commissioners, your mayors, to your business owners, everybody down to your citizens that work the jobs. It comes down to action. So, again, I want to appreciate y'all for being on here. I just want to let y'all have your little plug real quick. Holly, if you want to, or you want Katie to go first again.
How many plugs do I get? Because
all the plugs.
I don't. We'll put a limit on it. Okay. I'll stop if you get too crazy.
Okay.
I'll let Katie go first.
Go first,
Katie. You want to look at that camera there and let everybody know what you got going on. You know, what the future holds, and just let everybody know what Simply Dance's got going on.
All right, so we are getting ready to close out this season. Our recital this year is June 1st. We are doing Ariel's Adventure Under the Sea, The Little Mermaid. So please come check us out. It's at the Fine Arts Center. Even if you don't have a child dancing with us, we put on a really cool production, and we'd love for you to come see it. Also be on the lookout, Facebook, Instagram, our website. Registration will open in late May, early June for our 2019-2020 season, and we'd love for you and your child to be a part of that. So give us a follow, and you'll be able to see when that registration opens up.
What is your social media stuff? It's just at Simply Dance,
so Simply Dance Forsyth on Facebook and Instagram, and then our website, simplydanceforsyth.com.
I'll put that up on the screen too, just so people can find that. So, Holly, what you got going on?
Sage Sparrow is growing by leaps and bounds. We are located at 19 East Johnston Street, and we are proud to say starting next week, we will be open on Mondays. That's right.
What?
You can shop on Mondays in Forsyth. I got a couple of friends, along with our Main Street Merchants Association, that our Magnolias is going to be open on Mondays, as they always have been. Hometown Treasures, which is a monogramming and embroidery boutique, they will also be open on Mondays. And of course, Cotique Boutique is always open on Mondays too. But I think that we're starting a movement here, and we just need more things available on Mondays to our consumers. So we definitely will be open on Mondays. Our online business is up and running and growing, please check us out at www.shopsageandsparrow.com. You can buy directly from Instagram and Facebook. All you have to do on Instagram is click to buy. It takes you directly to the product. And that is Sage and Sparrow Forsyth on both Instagram and Facebook. Please follow and like. The more you like and follow, the more our stuff is seen, and we greatly appreciate it. And you can always comment, even if you don't want to buy. Drop us a little heart or an emoji, thumbs up, something. Last thing, Leadership Monroe 2019. I am participating in that, and I'm super stoked for that, along with the Chamber Board. But we have a super cool project this year. I'm excited for us to hopefully be able to announce it maybe sometime in the next few weeks. So please pay attention to Facebook for that.
Awesome.
Yeah, so again, I'll put the links up on the screen whenever y'all talk about it, and I'll also put the links for the page, the merchant page, and just everything else y'all talked about. So if you're on YouTube, Facebook, whatever, links will be in the bottom. Instagram, I don't think we can really link it, so you'll just have to go to the Facebook page or the YouTube page. If you're on Podbean, listen to the good old audio version. You're just going to have to go on the Facebook too. So anyways, to finish this up, Holly, I just want to give my appreciation to you and just thank you for being in this community and sticking with it, even though you maybe had your doubts, with Monroe County, and that you came back and you've created what you have. I think you're a huge inspiration to younger women in this community who may have the idea to do something like you're doing. And just for all the people who think that it couldn't be done, I think you've proved that you can. And like you said, even with the pricing and stuff, that you made it happen, and you're continuing to grow that. So just want to thank you for being that for this county and to hopefully do more. I know you talked about being more involved in the future. So I'm definitely interested to see, what it's all going to hold for all of us, and to see where you get in this community. So just want to do a personal thanks for that. And Katie, just want to thank you for being my lovely wife. And
That glow.
that glow again.
That glow.
Just really though, all the help that, to allow me to do this podcast. I mean, all the extra time that it takes for me to have to sit down and come up with these questions and just deal with me and Gator. I know that's a tough one in itself. So, just want to give a thanks for that. And then just believing in yourself. I know it took a little bit of a push to do it, but, that was just a tiny part that I played in that. And, just the fact that you took it and ran with it, it's been huge and even a big inspiration for me to want to grow my business more. Just seeing you, do everything you do for those kids up there at the dance studio and just what you've created. So just want to give my thanks for that as well. So thank y'all both for coming on this podcast. I know it was super last minute because we had for the camera again, go watch the video. We have a video review of the pickled okra. It took a lot of my time. So I have like 20 hours in that thing. So please go watch it.
It was
Share
awesome.
I think me and Gator did a pretty good job for our first one. So we kind of were backed up to get into this podcast. So it was kind of last minute. But so guys, thank you again. We will be back next Thursday. Not sure what we're doing yet. So it could be another last minute one. So we have some interesting ideas. We're not quite ready for some of them. We gotta prep, but we'll see. But again, thank you for watching. This is going to be it for episode 2, and we'll hopefully see y'all next Thursday. See you guys.